G'day everybody, Max right here. I hope you're having a great day. I'm super pumped about this video. I'm going to do a complete analysis of three of my favorite economic forecasters and historians, Peter Schiff, Harry Dent, Mike Maloney. And I'm going to see, to the best of my ability, I love all these guys, I'm not going to strawman anyone, to the best of my ability I'm going to make their arguments for them so that you guys know what they are. Then I'm going to compare them off against each other, and I'm going to share with you my thoughts about where the pros and cons are, which one has got it most right with the predictions about what's to happen over the next few years. So let's get into it. I'm going to go and put out a grid later on, but I think I'm going to use this middle of this board here right now to talk about each of their strategies. So let's go ahead and start with Harry Dent. Basically what he's predicting is a massive deflation. He's basically, this is the biggest bubble probably in the history of the world. Central banks around the world have been printing money for decades and decades. It's out of control. The bubble has popped for the coronavirus, and now we're about to go into a massive deleveraging, deflation situation. He's predicting the price of gold to be down at $500, down from $1,600 now. He's predicting the stock market to get destroyed, real estate market to get destroyed, and that basically US dollar and US treasuries are the safe haven. Foreign fiat currencies are inferior to US dollars. He is suggesting that the US dollar is the best house in a terrible neighborhood. All the other fiat currencies are the worst house in a terrible neighborhood. For that reason, he sees US dollars as being the safe haven, money flowing into the US dollars. And his advice, sit back for 2 or 3 years, get out of the carnage, wait on the sidelines in the safest thing you can find, US dollars, come back in and buy everything up for pennies on the dollar after a total destruction of the markets, which he expects to play out for about 2 to 3 years. And he expects the markets to go down. Stock markets I'm talking about, I think real estate, similar kind of number. Actually, I'll tell you that. Stock market, he expects to go down about 80 to 90% from its highs of 29,000 all the way down to whatever 80% of that off is, down to about 5,000 Dow. Okay, that's Harry's. With regards to real estate, for most markets in the average situation, he is predicting that your house price to go back to its house price in the year 2000. Whatever you could have bought a piece of real estate for in 2000, there's like a worldwide rule of thumb he's using. Whatever your house was going to be worth in the year 2000, what it was worth in 2000, that's what it's going to be worth in about 3 years' time. That's what he's expecting. Okay, let's kind of map that out. It's a very simple thing for him. We've been bubbling up for ages, and is expecting a massive crash down here to about over 2 to 3 years, 80-90%. Now he does get a little bit more nuance than that. What he's suggested, and historically, he's absolutely correct. It happened in the Great Depression, happened in 2008, happened in a lot of these other big debt bubble pops. Well, what happens is it goes down about 50%, and there's no hook in it, that's weird. We don't go backwards in time. It goes down by 50%, up 50%, and this all happens very quickly, and then goes down over the course of about 2-3 years. Okay, so that is what he is predicting. With respect to the Dow, what does that actually mean? So we peaked out here at 29K. We went down to just shy of 18. And more accurately, it's started 2 figures around, I've seen in different interviews, 50%, down 50%, and another one down 42%. We went down from 29 to 18K, it's about a third. And so his target hasn't been reached yet. I'm not crystal clear on if he thinks this is a short-term rally before we go the rest of the way and back up and down, or if he's acknowledging or suggesting that this time it was a little bit less. It only went down to 18K. We are now up in this one, and this is your last chance to get out and before this big, long, terrible 2 years of misery, rapidly declining stock market is about to happen. So, to the best of my ability, that's Harry Dent's estimation of what is going to happen. Mike Maloney basically has an almost identical philosophy as Harry Dent. He is suggesting the same thing has happened, but we go a little bit further. So we're in the middle of the bubble. The bubble popped. There's an up down. It never goes straight down. It walks the stairs on the way down, according to Maloney. But what he's suggesting is, at some point, the Fed will come in with such stimulus, such a ridiculous amount of money, that we're not going to see a prolonged 2-year depression before something plays out. Harry Dent model is kind of like China. He's suggesting that, Japan, I should say, there'll be lost decades and we'll just go sideways for years after, once we're at the bottom. What Maloney is suggesting agrees with Harry Dent on everything except that last phase. He says the Federal Reserve and the central banks of the world comes in with tens of trillions of dollars, helicopter money, and causes massive hyperinflation at the end of the situation. Okay, so Dent and Maloney, very, very similar in all these aspects, except Mike Maloney comes in with this concept of the helicopter money at the end, and we see a final phase of hyperinflation within 5 to 10 years over here. I have never heard him say that figure, but I'm pretty confident that is what he would think. Peter Schiff, a little bit different. He is kind of suggesting that there's very little short-term nuance from Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff is extremely confident of where it's going. And where it's going, he's now forecasting that hyperinflation is now not the worst case scenario, it's now the likely scenario. Peter Schiff says we are going to hyperinflation, meaning the Dow's at 50,000, 100,000, a million, it doesn't matter, who cares, they're imaginary numbers. And he's saying whatever you do, get the hell out of US dollars. And there's no nuance from Peter Schiff that I can find as about how we get there. And that's actually so all he's saying is that right now the US dollar is this. The US dollar is worth a lot, and he believes the US dollar is going to go down in value significantly. The inverse of that is that prices skyrocket. Okay, so that's Peter Schiff's analogy and Peter Schiff's concepts. So you can see Peter Schiff is kind of not stealing. I'm not saying Schiff had it first. But Schiff and Maloney kind of agree that hyperinflation is where this ends. Dent is the renegade here, saying that we know we end in deflation, we stay there for decades in a long, drawn out, miserable situation. So there's a little bit of a contrast there. Also, Mike Maloney has a lot of nuance of here with up, down, sideways, different asset classes as we go along. Peter Schiff, I have not heard from him. My apologies, Peter, if I'm misrepresenting you here. But what I'm suggesting is that you're predicting the hyperinflation at the end. You're saying get out of dollars now. So where has this kind of led us? Well, let's talk about Schiff here for a minute, because his fund, Euro Pacific Capital, I called them up recently, had a chat to some of the guys there, and I was like, what? Yeah, how have you done? I called them like 3 days ago. So let's just say March 25th. I don't even know what the date is, something like that. Oh, it's April Fool's Day, hello. So anyway, let's just say March 25th is when I called them. And I was like, okay, how has your fund done in the last couple of months? Now bear in mind, since 2005, Schiff has been calling for this bubble to pop. He thought it was the big pop in 2008. It got rescued with stimulus package. He didn't anticipate that people were going to believe that amount of QE would work. He thought it would just break the system back then. He got that wrong. No judgment there. Who could say whatever? I got no problem with that. But then for the last 10 years, he's like, this is going to come back bigger and badder than ever before. I think he's 100% right. But then I call up Euro Pacific Capital after he's been calling for this crash for the last 15 years. I was like, how have your funds gone for the last 2 months? You guys just have crashed it. Everything you predicted finally came true. No, we got smashed like everybody else. I'm like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing, Peter Schiff? I don't get it. You predicted this thing for 15 years. It finally happened. Your fund, compared to all the other funds, has been one of the poorest performers because you weren't being aggressive in your bets, in your investments, and so other funds were succeeding. But then you get smashed just like everybody else when it gets smashed. I just couldn't believe it. I just was in absolute shock when I heard that. So Euro Pacific Capital's funds have got smashed just like everybody else in the last little bit. Now, these guys correctly predicted that, no, this big smash is coming and sidestepped it to the best of my ability. I haven't done as much research on Dent, but Maloney has been pretty good. He's been a gold bug in this cycle for quite a while. And Schiff's also a gold bug, but gold's held up pretty well thus far in this crisis. It's been quite impressive, actually, compared to some of the other asset classes. Okay, so let me go through now with I'll do my matrix here and kind of call out what's happening. Oh no, Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll do the matrix first. Okay, US dollar. Peter Schiff says, get the hell out of the US dollars. They're absolute poison. They're trash. He says many foreign fiat currencies are better than the US dollar, and fiat currencies are trash. Get out of them. Harry Dent says fiat currency is where it's at, and the US dollar is the best house in the terrible neighborhood. Go ahead and take the US dollar. Mike Maloney, he's suggesting US dollar is probably okay for a short amount of time, but then we're going to go into hyperinflation. Get out of them. And there may be an instance, big caveat with Maloney's predictions. He says you may not be able to get gold and silver when the price of, let's say the price of gold does go to $1,000 or $500. Can you get the physical? That's the question mark. And let's do a little bit more nuance while I've got a little bit of board space from Mike Maloney. He often tells the story, the accurate story. I've told you guys before. It happened in 2009, I think it happened in 2011, I think it happened in 2013 as well. There was a little tremor in the market, there was a little bit of crisis. The price of gold and silver goes down on the exchanges. But during that time, the premium for physical gold, if you actually want the bullion, the premium skyrockets. The bullion shops all run out of gold. You can't get your hands on it. If you do, you're paying a big premium. So the price of gold plus the premium stays high. And so the price of physical gold doesn't really go down. Mike Maloney is absolutely correct in that for a period. But in all of the previous situations, in the last decade and plus at least, what happens if you were patient, this flattened out, maybe even started to come up a little bit, but over maybe 2-3 months, the people hoarding the bullion relaxed, they got what they wanted, the production kicked back in, it caught up with supply, and this premium dropped, and you could have bought physical gold and silver much cheaper than before the tremor, right? That has happened. He never tells that second part of the story, but that is true. Every one of those last 3 instances, you have been able to do it. Again, caveat, at some point, the paper market will collapse and go to zero, and the bullion market, if you have the physical, will skyrocket, and these two will never meet again. So is this the time that happens? I don't know. Is this the time that maybe you sit and you wait and you buy the physical bullion a few months from now, you get it, there's no lines at the bullion shop, the premiums are low and the price is still relatively low? Maybe. Or maybe this is the big one and these prices split and never, ever, ever come back. That's the gamble. That is the gamble. So, is Mike Maloney suggesting that US dollars are okay because of his first deflation, then hyperinflation? He's kind of a little bit of both, depending on your timing. Actually, I'll do it in reverse. Start off, I'm sure he's suggesting that US dollars are okay, maybe, and then definitely not. Okay? All right, what do we have next? Gold. Schiff is a huge gold bug. Again, he talks about the destination and never how we get there. So Schiff is saying hyperinflation is the destination. He's saying gold is like one of the best assets you can get into, and gold stocks, other things like that. Dent, he is a firm no. He is a long, prolonged deflation. Price of gold is going to get smashed along with everything else just being cash. Mike Maloney, he's like, yes, being gold in the short term because you might not be able to get it when or if the price goes down, and 10,000% being it towards the hyperinflation stage, you'll do very, very well. Bitcoin, Peter Schiff, one of the most outspoken anti-Bitcoiners out there. He is a big no-coiner. Schiff is big time against Bitcoin. Dent, I don't know what Dent is on Bitcoin, actually. I'm not entirely sure, so I got to do a pass on that one. And Mike Maloney, he is very open to Bitcoin. It's probably similar to me. Maybe I'm a little bit more excited for Bitcoin than Mike. But he's like, gold is a certainty. It's got a 5,000 year history. We know what it's doing. Bitcoin is very, very exciting. Mike Maloney is all excited about the free market choosing a new money, which is what is happening with Bitcoin. He's very, very open to it, but he's not sure that that's going to be the winner. And so I don't know. I put myself at about 80% certain Bitcoin's going to go to the moon. I put myself at 100% certain that gold's going to go to the moon. And I have plenty of both. So just so you know. So I think Mike is he's like a half yes for Bitcoin. My best guess at his. Value stocks. So again, the timing is critical here. Peter Schiff, the reason his fund got smashed, he's in all these value stocks and gold mining stocks and all this stuff. The analogy I got to, why this is why I just can't figure out how he missed this. The analogy I used in another video, you got this, gee, I hope I can draw a whale well. A blowhole? That's a whale, in case you were wondering. You got this whale, and you got all these little fish swimming around it, eating off the debris falling off the whale, right? And people are asking me questions like, well, what about this real estate market? And what about that real estate market? What about this? And this is all just little fish doing little stuff. What about that gold mining stock? And what about this? No, when the market crashes, the whale goes down. Don't waste my time with nuance of like, oh, this is a good value stock. Oh, this company is going to do well. Forget about all that nonsense. If the whale goes down, if the liquidity and the lenders are just, oh, I'm scared, I'm out, I'm not lending, and the whale sinks, all the little fish go down. Don't tell me there's going to be a good little fish in it. If you're in a leveraged market, the more leveraged market you have, you're done. Which is why gold and silver suffers. Gold and silver suffers because it's traded mainly in paper contracts on the COMEX and other locations, and it's the leverage is insane. All leverage markets get smashed in a deleveraging. So, value stocks. They're going to, Peter Schiff, he's still in them. He's lost a fortune the last little bit. He is still in them. He's saying yes, go to value stocks. I would suggest not yet. Harry Dent, he's no, get out of the stock market, 100%. Whale's sinking, it's going down, it's going to stay down, don't go anywhere near it. Mike Maloney, I'm sure he'd have the same opinion, get the hell out of it. Real estate markets. Peter Schiff, he is saying it's going down, it's getting crashed. Harry Dent, I told you, we're going back to year 2000 prices. And Mike Maloney has a very similar outtake on real estate as Harry Dent. The demographics are horrible the world over. You got the deleveraging taking place, a whole bunch of things happening, real estate, get the hell out. So, that's our matrix for Schiff, Dent, and Maloney. The one that I think, I really like Schiff. He's just a great economist, but man, I think he's missing some key parts here. Harry Dent and Maloney agree with everything except the last step. Do we go into a hyperinflation or not? Harry Dent studied lots and lots of history and is just great at it. I've learned so much listening to him. But where I see he's studying, like, sorry, let me get a sentence out here. In the instances where the population has been dumbed down sufficiently that they will accept tricks like clipping of coins, diluting the coins, or money printing and the crazy printing presses and $1 trillion bailouts, in those instances where that is available to the powers that be during a big a bubble pop, the politicians take it every single time to the end. When do they not? We've had 2 hyperinflations in America's history. Just think of the wisdom of the founding fathers and the population, back in the days of the War of Independence, Civil War, etc. And during that time, we had in hyperinflation. So we had, in my opinion, there's a very educated group of people back then, and not just that's a general population. Back then, pretty much everyone was small school, home school. Government had nothing to do with school. There were some people so poor they couldn't afford school. But back then, the quality of education was significantly higher than now. And back then, they had hyperinflation. Harry Dent, I think you're missing something with the last leg of this, which is the hyperinflation. The person that I agree with the most by far is Mike Maloney. I think he's nailed it. I think he's doing a fantastic job. There's not too much I disagree with him on anything, actually. I think Mike is kind of nailing it. Hey, I wanted to insert this little bit here. So why do I think Maloney is correct when he says deflation first, then hyperinflation? Because if a politician came out today and said, I am recommending we print $20 trillion and do the crazy kind of bailouts, he would be carted off to the loony bin, right? It would be obviously completely mental. It's only when people are in complete fear, complete shock, the markets are getting destroyed, only then are they desperate enough to grab onto a solution as ridiculous as trying to print your way to prosperity. So the markets have to crash so that the politicians can react and the central banks can react and start printing. That's reason number one. Reason number 2 is a concept called velocity of money. I think I'm going to do a whole show on this. Maybe that's my next video. So stay tuned for that. But there's 2 very good reasons why we have to have the deflation first, then the inflation. What does that mean to gold and silver prices? It could mean short-term hits to both of those commodities for sure. Yeah. So now the question becomes, if you want to play that, if you subscribe to that belief, and I urge you to do your own thinking, how do you play this? And now you get into a game of timing. So there's 2 main different ways that you can play this, in my opinion. I'm going to get rid of this. If you subscribe to Mike Maloney's and my ideas here, there's going to be this deflation and there's going to be this hyperinflation. Let's shorten that a smidge. Well, there's a couple of different ways you can play it. One, you can try and play the timing game, and you can try and jump from asset class to asset class and just go crazy and just go nuts. What you would do here on our way down, you would sit in US dollars. Right here, you'd sit in US dollars. You would let it go down. You might start transferring US dollars into precious metals or Bitcoin as we go down, down, down. At the bottom, we're flipping out here and we're switching our transition. Now we get into real estate and value stocks like Peter Schiff suggested. So that's an E for real estate and then value stocks. Okay. US dollars is the best up here. We let the markets get hit a little bit. We jump into gold, silver, and Bitcoin. We get down. At the bottom, we're talking about 2, maybe 3 years away. At the bottom, you jump in, you start buying real estate and value stocks. The yields that you will get here will be mind-blowing. If you haven't seen some of my other videos, please just go through the last 4 or 5 videos I've made. I go back about 4 or 5 videos. The yields that you get here, you will buy stocks that are giving cash flow dividends. I'm predicting at like 30%. You will get real estate you will get real estate cash flowing 30, 40, 50%. It's going to be insane the value you will get when in terms of buying cash flow. And this period is very hard for me because I am a complete cash flow guy. I love cash flow, and I'm in US dollars, precious metals, and Bitcoin, all 3 of them paying no yield. It's very, very hard time for me, but I'm just living off savings, waiting for the day I can come in and buy cash flow. So that's what I'm doing. Another little quick insertion here. I forgot to share with you the second strategy. So strategy number 1, you time it perfectly, and you do the Mike Maloney thing, and you time everything like a boss. You preempt all of the times where gold and silver is unavailable. You get in early, all those things. Or the other way, if you're wealthy enough, you actually hedge your bets. You have a little bit in the Peter Schiff column, you have a little bit in the Harry Dent column, and you have a little bit in the Mike Maloney column. Okay, so you have some gold and silver, you have some Bitcoin, you have some cash. Okay, and that way you're covered. If any one of those buckets succeeds, you're going to be fine. You're going to be one of the few people left standing. You can come back and buy everything for pennies on the dollar. So that's the strategy that I have. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I have enough to hedge my bets on all 3 strategies. If you don't, maybe you might lean towards, or if you have a higher risk appetite, you might lean yourself towards trying to get the timing just right on all those dips and rises on the way through. There is someone else who I really, really like. He talks in riddles, so he's much harder to deal with. But Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad fame, he just talks in riddles. He's very hard. But just so you know, let's just do another column here. I'll do you can't see up there, can you? There's a reflection on the board. Let me do it somewhere else. I'm going to squeeze him in here. Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Cash is trash, he says. I don't think he's a big fan of acquiring as much debt as possible. Gold, he loves gold. Bitcoin, I'm not sure. Not sure what he wants about that. Value stocks, he doesn't play the stock market. It's just because he doesn't have expertise in it. He doesn't say it's got nowhere to go, but he's not. And he is in real estate right now. He's one of those guys who is saying his expertise and his little fish attached to the whale is going to do well. He's also into oil big time, and I can only assume that he's getting smashed on all fronts with that. Oil's down, almost 90% from highs a few years ago. So he's really big into oil. Yeah, So that's Rich Dad, but he's very nuanced. Always talks in riddles. Always has a get out of jail free card. So he's a lot harder to read. But I do like his commentary on economics and history. So I do like that. What else have I got for you? Okay, I think that's about it, guys. I don't ask for Patreon. I don't ask for money. You don't need to buy my stuff. I'm going to give you all I can here on YouTube for free. But do me a favor. What's extremely motivating is watching those views, watching those likes, watching those comments, watching those subscriber counts up. So if you haven't done it, please subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, click the bell, make sure you get notified, like, and if you have any questions, please let me know. And also, you've now got a really good idea of the 3 different contrasts that all 3 of these guys have. Let me know in the comments which one you think is right. That's what I'd love to find out. I'd like to see what our community thinks as a whole. We've got a great community building here, and it's so much fun working with you guys, interacting and reading your comments every day. So please post this on Facebook, post it on YouTube. If you have any connections with these guys, I would love to interview them personally and let them defend their positions much better than I can strawman defend them. That would be fantastic. So please reach out to them and say, hey, talk to Max Wright or Contrarian Dude. That would be fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. And I'm probably going to do another Q&A next. If not, we're going to be talking about pension funds. So much going on there that you guys need to know. So make sure you subscribe to get that video next. See you soon.